Greetings. Back with another video. In this video, I'm talking about NPCs. How NPCs, some people be in your life be like NPCs. We see NPCs like if you watch The Matrix, an NPC is like a bot. Someone who has no soul. They go with the agenda of the system. They fight for the system. You know what I'm saying? They thoughtless. And when I talk about an NPC, NPC. NPCs, they don't think for themselves. They try to, they more like followers. And there was this one NPC. We call them NPCs because they're not willing to awaken. They're not willing to open up. They're not willing to be open-minded with situations. They choose to sit there and just take on the characteristics of a stereotype. We see the NPCs. You can't really if you awaken and you attune, that these NPCs they don't got no, it's like they soulless. Soulless people who go off ego. Most of the time, they go off ego. They followers. They do whatever they can to feel accepted. These NPCs. They just people that they don't. They're afraid to take risk. They go around and they blame everybody for everything. They try to look for to be like everybody else. They try to fit into circles. NPCs. They just people just don't. You can easily read them. They easily read them. You'll pay attention long enough to an NPC. Most of the time they sit there and they can easily be read. You can read the NPCs. So if you understand what I'm talking about, more like in The Matrix, how Agent Smith was an NPC. When it came down to it, the NPCs can be anybody, but the person like Neo is unplugged. He don't have to be an NPC, because he thinking for himself. He's free. He understands the society. He understands, what's going on. But NPCs, they think what society wants them to believe they are. That's the way they think. Voting. They believe that, they vote matters, protesting. NPCs like to protest. It's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, it's like, you ain't getting shit done with protesting. I don't see nothing, no difference from a homeless person holding up a sign and somebody protesting. It's no different. So, NPCs are asleep. They follow everybody. They want acceptance. They don't got no thought. They're basically like crash outs. NPCs are like crash outs. They'll do whatever everybody else tell them. At once when I was asleep, I was an NPC. When I was younger, I never felt like I was a leader. I always follow. I always wanted acceptance. I always wanted people to like me. I always wanted that attention. I used to be that way until I woke up. When I woke up, it was morely like I was being pushed into being a loner. Because when I woke up from the Matrix, I became a loner. And when I became a loner, I decided that I needed to do something to wake up, and then I start listening to a lot of videos. Well, it started with Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. I started listening to a lot of radios back in like 2007, 2006, 2005. You know, Coast to Coast with George Norrie was like the show for me, and that really woke me up because like it came on late at night on the radio station, and I would listen to that, and it would talk about all kinds of things like that we talk about on YouTube today. Like, I'm surprised they don't give credit and homage to that show, because that show really opened up a lot of gateways for the society today, because Coast to Coast AM was talking about aliens, it was talking about ghosts, it was like the unsolved mysteries of radio. So yeah, I mean, NPCs, they don't have no leadership skills. They're crash outs. They don't ask questions. They want to be fitting into society. They want to be around the groups. They want to be accepted. They whatever a celebrity tell them to do, they'll listen to what the celebrity says. You know, they believe whatever the celebrity tell them. That's what I'm saying. So that's it.